What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video on the channel, where in today's video I will be presenting to you guys my annual Stanley Cup playoff predictions for this year's postseason. Now, I do realize that I'm a little bit late to this trend since the playoffs have already begun, but I just didn't really have time to make this video on the weekend, so we're gonna have to do this Monday night here. And to give a little bit of a timestamp on when I'm actually recording this video, it is currently the second period between the Oilers and the Kings, so we'll see how that game turns out. But yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know that because I don't want y'all to think that I'm biased or anything based on the games that have already elapsed. And I promise you guys that I will be staying true to my opinions that I created well before the playoffs had begun. So yeah, I just wanted to make that clear for you guys. And before we actually get into my predictions, for question of the day, it's a pretty predictable one, but who do you think will win the cup and bring it back home to their home city? I want to know your thoughts in the comment section below, so let me know who you think it's going to be. I think this year it's a real toss-up. You know, you have the Avs, Kings of the West. The Panthers are looking like a powerhouse. Will the Tampa Bay Lightning three-peat, or will the Toronto Maple Leafs emerge from that first playoff series and enter that uncharted territory in the second, and so on? So we'll see what happens. You know, I, for one, think this is going to be a really exciting playoffs because it's the first time in forever that we've had full capacity at all the arenas, so we'll see how that plays into the games. But anyways, man, enough of my rambling. Let's actually get into today's video. So starting off with the Western Conference, I'll go from top to bottom here just to make it really easy. We're starting with the Colorado Avalanche, and I do think this will be a very easy win for them. You know, as Daryl Sutter said, this is just going to be a waste of 8 days for the team that plays the Avalanche. They're such a powerhouse, and I really don't see them losing this time in the first round. They have vengeance, something to play for this year, especially after a disappointing result last year, losing to Vegas in, I believe, 6 or something games. But I remember it was a pretty crappy way to go out, and McKinnon was definitely not happy as for the rest of the team. So I think this will be Colorado easy 4 or 5. I'm going to go with Colorado in 5. I think that maybe if Saros is back, you can maybe steal 1. But with Big Save Dave, I don't think they're going to be doing much damage there in the playoffs. So Nashville, sorry boys, but it's going to be a short run for y'all. Anyways, next up we have Minnesota versus St. Louis, and I think this is going to be a lot tighter of a matchup. Definitely one of my most anticipated series of the first round here. You have Minnesota, a really hard team to play against, mixed in with St. Louis, who's just a heavy team. They've won the Cup a couple of years ago. They've had a couple of disappointing runs, and they're definitely looking to get back into the mix this year. But Minnesota, man, I think that they're just too strong for the Blues, and although that the Blues destroyed the Wild today in game 1, I'm still going to stick with the Wild in 7 here. I think it's going to be tight, and I could be wrong definitely, but you know, with Minnesota, Kaprizov, Fiala's popping off, and Zuccarello, you know, that line, they've been buzzing, right? So it's been nonstop for them, and I don't think they're going to fail to find each other in the later stages of this series. And, you know, once we get to those game 5, 6, and 7, I don't think that Minnesota is going to be able to, I don't think that St. Louis is going to be able to handle them, right? So I think that Minnesota's got this one. I will be expecting Minnesota versus Colorado in round 2. That should be a very good series if it comes to it. But as I said, man, to Blues fans, I wouldn't be surprised if the St. Louis team, with the way they've been playing lately, can manage to pull this one out the bag. But I'm going to go with Minnesota in 7 just as my prediction, and let's move on to the next one. So here we have the Calgary Flames and the Dallas Stars, a really interesting matchup for me because, you know, I feel like at first glance, a lot of people are expecting me to say, oh yeah, Calgary, Pacific #1, 5 and 6 games, easy. But I don't know, man. Even though the Calgary Flames, they have such a strong squad with guys like Lindholm, Tkachuk, Gaudreau, even adding guys like Toffoli and the way Markstrom's been playing has been unreal. But something feels a little bit off to me because the Dallas Stars, they have been fighting for a playoff spot this entire, final stretch in April, right? They've been fighting, they've had the pedal on the gas, and Calgary has been kind of letting up a little bit. You know, they haven't really been playing all that serious ever since they clinched the first spot, and, you know, it's really been showing in their play. I feel like they're not going to be ready for this one, and I'm just getting that vibe, and it's going to be a bit too late until they actually get their wheels going, and I feel like Dallas will be the one to ultimately prevail. So I'm going to go with Dallas in 7 for the upset because, you know, the playoffs, it never goes accordingly to, you know, what everyone thinks initially. But, you know, there are a couple upsets here and there in the first round. I think this will be one of them. I wouldn't be surprised if Calgary wins, but, you know, I'm going to have to predict this one. I think that Jason Robertson, Joe Pavelski, Tyler Seguin, all these guys, man, Rope Hintz, they're popping off, and they're going to keep this momentum up in the playoffs. Calgary's not going to be ready, and it's going to be so long for the Flames. Finally, with our last matchup in the Western Conference, we have the Edmonton Oilers facing off against the LA Kings. Two teams that I feel like have a lot to prove. It's going to be a really good series, and I honestly think this is probably the most unpredictable one of the bunch. You have the Oilers, they've been in the playoffs the past couple of years, but they haven't been getting the results that they've been wanting. Obviously, losing 4-0 to the Jets is really embarrassing, so I don't think they're going to want that to happen again. Obviously they're going to be going hard, and I do think it's going to be a much better result from the Oilers this year. They're going to be getting a couple wins at least, and I do think that they have the better chance statistically of actually winning this series. But don't count the Kings, man. They are a very underrated team. I feel like a lot of people are already writing them out of this series, but I wouldn't count them out just yet. They have a really strong core, really experienced with guys like Kopitar and Quick. He's been on fire lately. Guys like Edler. And, you have guys coming in like Kaliev and stuff. They're going to be providing those goals and that energy that they need. So I think it's going to be a really good series between two teams. It's a close game right now from what I've been watching. It's currently tied up right now in the third period. I don't want to jinx anything or, make any sort of biased prediction, but I do think that the Oilers are going to be the team to take it. But, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the Kings do as well because, as I said, man, this could be the most unpredictable one of the bunch. But, I'm going to go with Oilers in 7. It's going to be a really good one, and McDavid will finally move on to that sweet second round. Moving on to the East, we have the Florida Panthers and the Washington Capitals. I think this one's a pretty predictable one. You have the Florida Panthers, just an absolute powerhouse. I know the Washington Capitals have Ovi, but I don't think he's going to be able to make up for what the Florida Panthers have in store, especially after acquiring Giroux, and with the way Bobrovsky's been playing along with the rest of the team. It's just going to be too much for them to handle, and I do think Florida takes this one in 5 or 6. I do think that Washington might get a couple, just because, they're a pretty strong team. I think they're more respectable than the Nashville Predators are in that wildcard 2 position, but it's still not going to be enough. I'm going to go Florida in 6 here. Next up, we have the Toronto Maple Leafs facing off against the 2-time Cup champs. Can they go for the three-peat? It's the Tampa Bay Lightning. And this is a really interesting one for me because I feel like for this one, I've been back and forth the most out of any other series. I could make a case for both of these teams. For Toronto, I know they won Game 1 5-0, and that does kind of play into my argument on them, which is a little bit of a cheat, I'm not going to lie, but at the same time, man, do you really blame me? This team has shown me where they're at, and they look like they're ready to finally get past that first round. But at the same time, the Tampa Bay Lightning are a team that you can never count out of the playoffs. They're so good, and even when they're down 3-0 in the series, if that's the case, you can't count them out because they know what they're doing. They've been here before, and they're ultimately just such a poised and strong team. So it's really debatable, but I do think I'm going to go with Toronto, not just because they won their game today, but because I do think they're ready. Marner's looking like he's pretty good, and I think they're going to carry on with it. Jack Campbell played great today, and I ultimately think they're going to take it. So I'm going to go Toronto in 7. Next up, we have Carolina and Boston. Okay, so I know Carolina won this one as well. It sucks because man, it looks like I'm cheating here because I've seen the first game of all of these series, but I did have Carolina winning it in 5, but I mean, I could obviously be wrong here. Boston is another team that is experienced. They have a good core that's been here before. So, they definitely know what they're doing when it comes to the playoffs. But Carolina this year is also just a really strong team, and I feel like they will prevail, especially after losing to the Bruins a couple times in years previous in the playoffs. I think this year they finally get it done. Actually, did they get it done last year? I forget. But regardless, this year they're going to do it. I say Carolina in 5 or 6. Let's go with 6, actually. Finally, with our final matchup of the first round, we have the New York Rangers facing off against the Pittsburgh Penguins, and what I feel is also going to be a close series. I've said 7 for so many of these ones, and I feel like this could be the case again, right? Pittsburgh, I know their core is aging, but they still have Crosby and Malkin who are still producing, mixed in with Gensel, and obviously Brian Rust, and you also have Christopher Letang back there. Those guys are all good, capable players that can still manage to bring success to their teams, right? So I think this is going to be a really close one, closer than people think, but I do think New York takes this one. I just really like what they've done with their forward core, with guys like Zibanejad, Kreider, and Panarin leading the pack, especially with guys like Lafreniere also coming in and blossoming into the players that they once thought that they would become. And they also have the best defender in the league, arguably, in Adam Fox. and the best goalie in the league in Igor Shesterkin, right? Like, it's crazy how good this lineup is. They have so much star power, so I really don't see them losing. Now that I think of it, it's actually a lot more lopsided than I thought at first. So yeah, just ignore what I said initially, saying that this is going to be a really close series. It's a bit less close than I once thought. So yeah, I'm going to go Rangers in 6. So moving on to the second round, where we have the Colorado Avalanche facing off against the Minnesota Wild. I have Colorado taking this one in 7 games. Minnesota's a really strong team, but Colorado's even stronger. I just don't think that there's even a debate there. I think Colorado's going to really make a statement this year. They've lost too many times, man, and I feel like this year they've really woken up, and they've really gotten locked in, dialed. They're ready to go. This could be their year. So I'm going to go Colorado in 7 games, even though Minnesota, a really respectable team with a huge future ahead of them with all their star power. So I think that this is going to be close. Could go either way, but Minnesota will fall just short. Next up, we got Dallas and Edmonton. So I do think this is going to be a really close series as well, but I do have Edmonton take this one in 6 or 7 games. The Oilers, they have a ton of star power, and I just think it's going to be too much for Dallas to handle. Simple put. Dallas is also going to be riding high on that Calgary win if it comes to that, and they're not going to be ready for Edmonton, who's going to be locked in. And I do think that Edmonton will win. This could be all just a really bad take, and it could be completely wrong, but the playoffs are a time where unexpected things happen, and I think this is going to be unexpected, and this is what I think is going to happen. So we're going to go with it, and yeah, Oilers are going to make it to the 3rd round. Next up, we have Florida versus the Washington Capitals, where I do think that the Toronto Maple Leafs, once getting past that 1st round, will finally get that sense of belief. That hurdle is so big, man. Getting past that 1st round, they've been stuck here for years. And once they do it, they're finally going to flourish and get to the point that they've all been looking for. Just that belief in them, that next step that they need to get past an even tougher opponent in the Florida Panthers, right? So I do think that Toronto takes this one in 7 games. It's going to be a tough one to predict, but exciting to say the least. So I'm excited for this one if it does come into play. Finally, we have the Carolina Hurricanes versus the New York Rangers, and I do have the Rangers winning this one in 6 or 7 games. I'm going to go with 6 just because I've done 7 so many times. I do think the Rangers are just a really well-structured team, and I think that although the Carolina Hurricanes are as well, the Rangers are going to be too much this year. I know that the Rangers got knocked out by the Hurricanes, I think in the bubble one time, and that's going to be a bit of revenge for them. So I think the Rangers take it this time around and head into the conference finals. Moving on, we have the Colorado Avalanche facing off against the Edmonton Oilers in the 3rd round, where I do think the Oilers will fall just short to the Colorado Avalanche. This is their year, man. I've said it so many times, but I really think that this year they can't possibly fail, man. They've only lost 13, 14 times in the regular season, and it's going to be tough to beat them in a 7-game series 4 times. So I really think that Colorado, with all the star power they have, is going to be too much for McDavid and Draisaitl, and their depth will be enough to carry them through to the Stanley Cup Finals for a chance to bring it home. Next up on the East, we have the Toronto Maple Leafs versus the New York Rangers in what I feel is going to be a very offensively minded series. You have 2 teams with some of the greatest goal scorers, guys like Matthews and Marner on one side, and then Panarin and Kreider on the other side, Zibanejad. I'll add that to the list. They have so many good pieces, both sides, and it could go either way. I do think the Rangers take it, though. It's going to be a great run for the Leafs and a great step in the right direction. But now, with the way the Rangers have been looking and the direction they've been heading, I really don't see them losing, and I have them in 6 or 7 games. Let's go Rangers in 7. Yeah, I've said 7 so many times, but screw it. We're going to go Rangers to the Cup final. So the Cup finals have been made. We have the Colorado Avalanche facing off against the New York Rangers, where I do have an upset. I know it seems like the Colorado Avalanche, it might be their year, I know, but I'm going to go with the Rangers to win it all. I was a little bit persuaded, man, after looking at this team's forward core with the amount of pieces that they have. It's just so deadly. Their defense is really strong. They have one of the best defenders in the league, along with a really good core to follow it up, and then the best goaltender in the league. I don't think that anyone's stopping this team, man. They're going to go all the way and win the Cup. So, yeah, let me know what you guys think about these predictions. These are just my opinions, and I'm probably going to be incredibly wrong with this playoff bracket, but yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Who do you think is going to win? And would you agree or disagree with my opinions? I went with a lot of upsets and whatnot, but yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm definitely going to be wrong. This looks terrible, but yeah, let's just go with it. So thank you guys so much for watching. I love making these videos, and I'll be back throughout the playoffs, making videos and updates on, what I feel is going to happen and what's going on and my thoughts. So yeah, make sure you like, subscribe, do all that stuff so you don't miss other videos. And yes, guys, I'll catch you guys all in the next one. See ya.